Hey, what's up, guys? Ryan Potter here with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate, also known as Realtor Potter, your Omaha real estate expert. And today I want to talk to you about for sale by owners. I know that's a big thing, especially in the market when things are hot, or when just people are looking to save some extra money. So I want to kind of touch on just a couple things. And one, I want to make it very clear. I'm not trying to downplay for sale by owners. I'm not saying they're not successful or anything like that. The purpose of this video is to actually give you some advice and some things to be aware of when dealing with a for sale by owner, or when thinking about putting your property up for sale as a for sale by owner. Because right now we're starting to see a lot of different things trend and happen. And I want to make you guys aware of those things, and to also let you know why I think it's important that you're represented because of these things. So the first thing I want to talk about, if you're a seller and you're thinking about going for sale by owner, my first question to you is why? Why are you trying to sell your house by yourself? And I don't mean that to degrade you or disrespect you or do anything like that. But I simply ask the question because it makes me think of, if I get injured sometimes and I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, my hand looks broken, but I'm not going to go to the doctor. I don't need to do that. I'll just take care of it myself. Why would I do that? In the same sense, why would you not get your hands and sit down in your house in the hands of a real estate agent and at least go over the possibilities of what your house can go for, what that agent can do to help promote that property for you, and above all else, it's our goal to put as much money in your pocket in the least amount of time. And so why wouldn't you at least give us the opportunity to sit down and tell you what our plans are moving forward and what our goals are for you, and trying to get you the most money for your house? Because what happens typically, I'm not saying always, but typically statistics show us that if you go for sale by owner, you end up making less money on the house than what you could have made if you would have listed it with an agent. And here's why. A couple things. First of all, when people see that your house is for sale by owner, they automatically know and think to themselves, they're doing it because they don't want to pay out a commission. So therefore, we'll lowball them anyway, and we'll offer them this amount of money, which is less than what your house is listed for. And sometimes, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, the for sale by owner, or the owner of the house, the seller, ends up taking that offer and running with it because it's the only offer they've got in a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months. And they end up going with it, not putting the most money in their pocket for what the value of their house is worth. And so that's where we come in to play. We have way more resources. It's our job, for one, it's our job to get you the most money for your property and to put that money in your pocket in the least amount of time. That's what we do. We're the experts at that. Now, I realize there's some agents out there that aren't very good at that, because there's a lot of agents in this field, but the really good agents will actually do that. In most cases, especially in this market, they'll not only bring to you what the list price is on your property, they'll bring to you over the list price, because we get into multiple offer situations and we know how to handle those situations and communicate with those other agents or those other people involved to get that price up, and then to also go through the appraisal phase and all that kind of stuff as well. But that's just one thing that comes to mind when I think about the for sale by owner. The other question is, to me, especially being in real estate and seeing all these things go down with all these different transactions sometimes, why would you not want to be represented? There's a lot of weird stuff going on out there, whether it's from a buy side or a list side. And to me, I think it's kind of crazy, if you will, to list your house by yourself and work with a complete stranger that isn't represented. There's just too many things that can go wrong, whether that's the earnest deposit, whether that's the inspection, or other things that come up throughout the process. There's just too many things in my mind personally that I just would never go down that road. Even if I were never a real estate agent, knowing what I know now, I would never do that moving forward. And like I said, sometimes there's transactions that run smooth with for sale by owners, and congratulations if that's you. You're one of the few that have made it through a transaction without any complications. Because statistics tell us that there's a lot of things that can come up and a lot of things that happen. If you're a buyer and you're working with or you're looking at a house that is for sale by owner, here is where I stress to everyone. Listen, if you're a buyer and you're not being represented by an agent, I have to scream why, because you don't pay anything. Again, it's the seller that always pays out the commission, right? So why wouldn't you as a buyer want to be represented and to know legally what all the things are that you need to do and are covered, and you're insured by all those things that could possibly come up? You have someone to guide you through that process from step one of writing the purchase contract to the inspection to the appraisal to all the other things all the way up to close and after. Why wouldn't you want to be represented when essentially it's free? So something to think about if you're a buyer and there's a for sale by owner that you're interested in. Get represented. That's what my whole point of this is, to get represented, because we're starting to see a lot of things happen. For example, here's a perfect example for you. New and read an article as well where this has happened. So I know that it's happened personally, and I know that it's happening outside of Omaha and different places as well. But here's what happened. The buyer went to a for sale by owner. They wrote an earnest check. The for sale by owner, the seller of the house, wanted $5,000 down for an earnest check. Okay, so the buyer writes the $5,000 earnest check. They fill out paperwork. Next thing you know, a week later, the seller's gone. Seller's gone, nowhere to be found, isn't returning phone calls, and now you're out $5,000. And what are you gonna do? You're not represented. You have no one to help you out. You can call the police or do whatever, but we all know that that's time consuming, and that whole process could take time, when all you needed to do was find an agent and get represented, right? I mean, it's something small, but it turns into a big thing. And that's my point in this whole entire video of doing this for sale by owner thing. Again, it's not to degrade it, but it's to get represented, to get informed, to get educated and trained on all the different things that could happen when you're working with a for sale by owner. There's a reason why a lot of agents don't even want to work with for sale by owners. And a lot of those reasons are sometimes that for sale by owner is unrealistic. They're emotionally attached to that house, and so they think their house is worth more than it actually is. And then they say, well, even if the appraisal comes back lower, I'm not gonna come down on price. I want to sell it at this, and it's just unrealistic. That's not how it works. But for some reason, they're emotionally attached to that price and what they think it's worth, that sometimes they're very difficult to work with. There's other times where, you know, they don't want to sign certain things. Well, that's a part of the process, and legally those are some of the things that we need to get signed. So if you don't want to sign those things, then you probably shouldn't be selling your house. So there's just certain things where you want to be represented, where you have that mediator to go to that seller and to discuss those things, to work through those things. And then legally, if anything goes wrong, now you have someone to represent you. And if it does need to go to court, for example, now you've got a witness and some other people, and you've got documentation and proper paperwork to legally take them to court. And trust me, the seller is not going to win that battle. If they signed a contract, then it's a legal binding contract. And if we have that right, if we have the correct paperwork there, they're not going to be able to get out of that without paying a pretty hefty fee. So again, I just wanted to inform you and kind of talk about that, because I feel like it's a hot topic. I feel like some people don't want to talk about it, especially with realtors. Again, I have nothing against for sale by owners. Do I like working with for sale by owners? Sure. I've worked with some that have turned out great, and you know, the transaction went smooth, and that's because I believe I'm very organized. I stay on top of things. I make sure things are getting done. If they don't, I show up at the doorstep. There's some agents where they don't go that smooth because they're not organized, and they're not willing to go out of their way to do that and to work for you as their client. But for me, I make sure things get done. Now, are there situations where I've worked with for sale by owners where it's been pretty difficult? Yeah, I've earned my penny doing it. I should have been paid a lot more than what that was, because a lot of people don't think that we actually earn our 6% or whatever that is, when realistically it's not even 6%. If I'm listing the house, it's 3.6%. If I'm buying the house to represent the buyer, it's 2.4%. So that number is completely skewed sometimes. Outside of that, if I were to mark down all the hours that I spend on a transaction and break it down to what I'm getting paid hourly, it's pretty minimal. So don't let that kind of discourage you as well, or push you away to think that it's not worth paying an agent, because trust me, it's worth paying an agent. It's worth your time, it's worth your money, and it is definitely worth the sale of your home, because we'll get more for it. So with that, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Hopefully that has informed you on for sale by owners a little bit, and I look forward to hearing back from you and kind of your comments there as we move forward and any questions you have there. So again, Ryan Potter, hope you're in the hands of the Potter when you go to buy and sell your home in the future. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, email me, Snapchat me, Instagram me, Facebook me, whatever it is. I'm more than happy to help. So thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you soon.